This is an 18 News special report, Voices of the Twin Tiers.
So we want to make sure that we can do a protest as a peaceful protest. I know a lot of people have concerns, but this community is a great community where a lot of people know each other, and so we'll hold each other accountable.
Protesters in cities across the U.S. hit the streets. They are rallying for justice and equality in the wake of the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Tonight, we hear their voices right here in the Twin Tiers. Good evening, I'm Jordan Orcas. Thank you for joining us for this 18 News special report. Voices in the Twin Tiers. Tonight, we take a step back and take a look at the fight for racial justice in our nation and right here in our own community. This next half hour, we will look at how people in our area are calling for justice. We start tonight by looking at the protests that have been happening all week right here in the Twin Tiers. Our Daryl Matthews joins us live from downtown Elmira with more. Good evening, Daryl.
Jordan, for the past 9 days, protesters have been here in downtown Elmira fighting for change. But it's not just here in the city, but all across the Twin Tiers. Take a look.
Justice is not for all, and we saw that a few days ago.
We're all humans and we're all entitled to the same rights. We're not all being treated that way right now, though.
It hurts to know that in 2020, this is still the world that we live in.
In our society, unfortunately, black lives have no value. So that's why people have to come out here in a pandemic to fight for human rights.
I decided to join on the protest today because, you know, the color of my skin, I'm black, and I feel like I should, you know, like join and try to help out the community.
For so long, we have been oppressed and treated unfairly.
It's time for us to take charge and make a change.
It's a gathering of everybody fighting for justice.
Standing together, it's the only way to do it. We can't do it apart, so that's the only way to do it.
We gotta have those that oppress us to recognize that. But until then, you know, Black lives matter forever.
It means my son's life, my father's lives, my uncles, my aunts, and my life included.
I want my family to be safe. Like, I have brothers, my stepfather. I just want them to know that their lives matter, that they can go out in public and feel safe.
It's not that all lives don't matter, it's that we want to be included in those other lives, and it can't matter until we're included.
You do what you feel is in your heart, because if you feel like something is wrong, anything is wrong, even if it's the smallest thing that's wrong, I feel like you have a voice, and it needs to be used.
End the silence! End the violence! End the silence! End the violence! End the silence! End the violence! End the silence! End the violence!
And now our 18 News reporter Michaela Newton brings us the story of an Elmira native looking to make a change locally in a national historic movement. Take a look.
After all this is done, hopefully there's no more hashtags.
Damari Green grew up in Elmira.
I wasn't sure if there was going to be anybody showing up with to support this at first.
Wanting to make a change, he started it right here in front of Elmira City Hall and in Corning. What started on social media turned into peaceful protests across the Twin Tiers. Today, dozens of people will be walking these very streets, marching against injustice and inequality.
With social media now, you know, a lot of people are more subconscious, you know, so they fall underneath, you know, what's the trend and everything. We gotta continue to educate ourselves, get more involved.
Green says after posting to social media, the city of Elmira's police chief Joseph Kane and Mayor Mandel reached out to him to express their desire to be a part of it.
That's what I want to do. I want to uplift this community.
He can normally be seen answering phone calls, planning for what's next.
It's not just about police brutality, but a lot more. At the end of the day, Black Lives Matter is forever.
In Elmira, Michaela Newton, 18 News.
Nearly 2,000 people marching alongside the Elmira Police Department and local leaders such as Elmira Mayor Dan Mandel and Congressman Tom Reed. Today, the city of Elmira is helping make national history in the largest civil rights movement to date. People joined together in the fight for justice at the Ernie Davis Park, showing unity, strength, and togetherness.
I couldn't be more prouder than the community today. It was a unified spirit. I mean, we were walking for change, we were walking for peace, justice, and I think in the end we were walking for each other.
The march started with a moment of silence and lasted about 2 hours. And roughly 100 people marched in the streets of Hornell today in a peaceful demonstration. People of all ages joined in chants, prayer, and song as they walked on this beautiful sunny day. Both the police and fire departments joined in on the demonstration, and Police Chief TJ Murray spoke to the crowd at the end.
I wanted to kind of reflect upon is that, I'm not a perfect person, and our police departments certainly aren't perfect, but we try to learn every day and try to get better. And I think trying to get a better connection with the community, and particularly the black community, so that we can hear how we're doing from their vantage point is so very important, and it's something that we should be doing on a more regular basis, and I hope to implement that in the future.
After the march, the fire and police departments welcomed the marchers back to their station for hot dogs, beverages, and conversation. Now, Corning has also seen its share of protests throughout the week. Our 18 News reporter Elise Kim is in the studio sharing the voices of the protesters in Corning.
Jordan, every time I go out to a peaceful protest, the demonstrators show me how passionate the people of the Southern Tier can be. Here's what they have to say. Take a look.
So with racism, it happens with all races. None of us are saying it's right down to black versus white. It's really everyone versus racism.
A small protest in a small city in one of the most well-known states in America. But what these people hope to bring is big changes.
I'm out here to compel, to be visible and compel those that know me in the community to action.
Growing up mixed, it's really hard to fit in. I've always been too dark to be white, too white to be black. A lot of people don't think that there's any racism here in Corning. I myself have experienced racism multiple times in my life.
As an African American female in this community, I have encountered some discrimination. You know what? No more will I sit silent.
And she draws the line when it comes down to her family's safety.
It is not okay. And so therefore, I have 5 children that grew up in this community. My husband is a PhD, but if he put a hoodie on or if he put a hat on, he is treated like an animal. It's not acceptable. No more.
A lot of people will make a joke and they don't think it's racist, but it is really racist. I've had people say some jokes around me and it's hurt me inside, but I never said anything. I really do wish I did. And so for all the times that I didn't say anything, I'm standing up now, and I think that's why everyone is so passionate, like all the peaceful protests, is because we're finally finding our voice to stand up to racism and to hopefully end it.
I would just like for people to switch in our spot just for one day. Just one day. Just one day.
Elise Kim, 18 News. Back to you.
And a call for action in the midst of nationwide protests for George Floyd and racial equality. As local protests in Elmira remain peaceful, justice between local leaders and community members are in motion. Last night, the Elmira Corning chapter of the NAACP held a virtual meeting called Can We Talk to not only gather information, but also chart a course to avoid eruption in the community.
Everybody is so emotional, they just take to the streets. We have to have a plan. We have to be better than that, because if you don't change your approach, you get the same outcome.
The online forum grabbed the attention of nearly 200 people from around the community, all who want to be heard.
These younger protesters want to see a better world. They want to see hope. They want to see people getting along, and they see that and they're participating. And I think it's a good thing that we have younger people participating in this.
The meeting comes in the wake of George Floyd's death from police brutality. It is to ensure each and every individual feels safe within the community. Coming up on Voices of the Twin Tiers, a 75-year-old man was shoved to the ground at a protest in Buffalo last night. We have the full story and a local response next.
This is an 18 News special report. Voices of the Twin Tiers.
During a protest in Buffalo last night, a 75-year-old protester was shoved to the ground by police and taken to the hospital in an ambulance. A video obtained from WBFO in Buffalo shows the 75-year-old protester outside City Hall approaching police officers when the officers shoved him to the ground. Later last night, Buffalo Police Captain Jeff Rinaldo said that Internal Affairs has opened up an investigation into the incident. Buffalo Police Commissioner Byron Lockwood has ordered both officers involved to be suspended immediately without pay. Now, due to the suspension of the two officers, the entire Buffalo Police Department's emergency response team has resigned. That's a total of 57 officers. Now, although these officers are no longer on the emergency response team, they are still employed. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz says the man is in serious but stable condition. Our 18 News reporter Elise Kim spoke with a local combative instructor. Take a look.
We're joined here with Zach Pugh, Chief Instructor at Pugh Self-Protection and Combatives. Good evening, Zach.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Just to get started, what was your initial reaction when you saw the video?
Initially looking at it, it looks bad. Unfortunately, I try not to judge a video just based on solely what you see. A lot of people feel that a video does give you the full story, but I feel it doesn't. I'm not trying to condemn nor justify the officer's actions. You can also see the guy, he looks like he has his phone in his hand, but he's reaching out to the officer. He's like tapping him with it. So right there, that would be an arrestable offense that would constitute harassment. It's also going towards the side of the officer that I can see he has a gun holstered. So a lot of officers are trained not to let a guy, get close to your weapon or try to reach for it. Obviously, there could have been a whole set of other circumstances that wouldn't justify it. If the guy went up to him, was asking for directions, or asking, where do you want me to go? You're telling me to leave. Where should I go to? Where's a safe route? Maybe he was asking for help.
Thank you so much, Zach, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Love covers a multitude of things, and that's what we need right now.
Still to come on Voices of the Twin Tiers, keeping the faith while fighting for a cause. We hear from one local pastor.
This is an 18 News special report. Voices of the Twin Tiers.
The death of George Floyd has marked a national civil rights movement and is now the largest civil rights movement in history. 18 News has been following the multiple sides of this story since it began 9 days ago. Today, Pastor Cale Mann spoke with 18 News about how during these undetermined times, the cause must not be forgotten through anger.
We do not want resolve to lead to rioting and looting and tearing down our neighborhoods. We want resolution from both sides. So whereas the church, we work with our local NAACP, we work with our local Black Lives Matter, but we also work with our local government. We also work with our local police force because it's all about hope, right? You lose hope, you lose your ability to fight for change.
Now, Pastor Mann has provided us with Pray for Peace during these troubling times. You can listen in on the prayer at our website, mytwintiers.com.
To know that he truly cared about us and wanted to see a difference.
Next on Voices of the Twin Tiers, one photo taken at a protest in Oklahoma has gone viral. Find out why coming up.
This is an 18 News special report. Voices of the Twin Tiers.
One protester and one cop have made a lasting impression on one another, and now the photo has gone viral. After Drew Rhodes went to a protest in Oklahoma City, he reached out his hand, and one police officer held it. As the two held hands, Drew began to pray. The photo taken in that moment has gone viral, and in recent interviews, the two say they have made a connection they won't soon forget.
That he truly cared about us and wanted to see a difference, a change in things. It meant a lot to be prayed over like that.
She exposed that love, that soul that we all need. We all need to see that. Those officers that saw that, I hope they know she stands a monster amongst boys.
The two say they have connected on social media and plan on staying in touch from now on.
I mean, anytime that you create a piece of artwork and have a voice, you hope that it's impactful and that other people are inspired by it.
Up next on Voices of the Twin Tiers, an artist and teacher uses her art activism to make her voice heard for racial equality. We take a closer look after the break.
This is an 18 News special report, Voices of the Twin Tiers.
A teacher and artist in Syracuse using her talents with paint to send a very powerful message about the need for racial equality in the United States. Jeff Kolakowski from our sister station in Syracuse gives us a look.
I mean, anytime that you create a piece of artwork and have a voice, you hope that it's impactful and that other people are inspired by it.
Cara Davio got to work Monday morning using art to fix up the damage caused by looters Saturday night at the downtown Syracuse business she's a partner in, Wildflowers Armory. She also knew this would be a great lesson for her art students at North Syracuse Junior High and CNS High School. Art as a voice for change in the world.
Well, I think the windows themselves really kind of symbolize the world and how broken we are at the moment. And again, placing these boards up almost as Band-Aids to kind of cover up the problem. So I just kind of felt like using a symbol that could show the change that we needed in the world, and what better than George Floyd's face.
Cara tells me using an image over and over with bright colors would be impactful and grab people's attention.
You know, the world needs to see more in color and not just black and white. And I think it's important to recognize that racism does exist in the world. And that everyone deserves the same love and respect.
The mural is down now to make room for new windows, but Cara says public art is never permanent.
So, so we knew that it would be coming down, and I think it served its purpose.
That does it for our special report, Voices of the Twin Tiers. But stick around, 18 News at 6 is coming up next.
Find 18 News wherever you are on mytwintiers.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our apps for news, weather, and sports.